Okay, so I'm getting ready to mix together some BW2 bleach and some developer to get ready to bleach knots on my, I believe it's a 6x6 closure, we a 5x5. So the products that you will need is your bleach. I like the BW2, but I do know people use Quick Blue, so use whatever is your preference. And I also have the 30 volume developer. I have a mixing bowl and a brush, and of course, handy dandy gloves, so that way the bleach does not burn. So next I have the closure. It's my little quarters for laundry. Don't mind that, or the crap in the background. Next I have my closure. Like I said, I believe this is a 6x6 closure, so there's a lot of coverage here. I don't have a large forehead, so frontals are kind of hit and miss for me. This hair and this closure is from my hairline, Royalty Hair Dynasty. This is actually a new texture that I'm getting ready to introduce, so I'm not going to say the name as of yet. Still in the testing phase. As you see, the lace is the light brown. This is your standard lace. The knots are not as small as I would like them to be. Try to focus there. You can definitely see the knots there. So we do need to do some bleaching, and as you can see, there are some pre-parts in here which will just help with diversity when doing different styles. So I am gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so I know I said I was going to use the BW2 bleach. However, did not know that I am pretty much out. And with that small amount, I feel like that should be enough to do the closure, but I don't want to take the risk. So I'm going to switch and use the Quick Blue by L'Oreal, which I honestly don't like because it takes a long time to process. But you guys can see I have more of that. So what I'm going to start off with is one scoop of the Quick Blue. That should be more than enough. This is a larger closure. As far as the developer goes, it's a 30 volume developer, which means it's not going to process very quickly. And because I am using Quick Blue, again, it might take a little longer. I don't want to go over 30 minutes of the processing time. Generally, I do not measure, but for video purposes, I am going to measure in capfuls here, just so you guys can kind of get an idea. I usually just freehand it. One. We're going to start off with 3 capfuls to 1 scoop of bleach. You don't want the consistency to be runny at all because, as we all know, if it is runny, it will go and seep through your lace. And I have seen people put Gots to Be spray and gel to kind of create a barrier so it does not go through the lace, but I am not going to do that because I'm not about wasting no products. But if that works for you, then you're more than welcome to. So right now you can see this is our developer, this is our powder, and we're just going to give that a quick stir. I use this side because I don't have a whisk small enough to do this. So I use the bottom portion of my brush, does the same thing, and then once I get it the consistency that I want, I'll use the bristles here to kind of, I have things in there. I'll use the bristles to make sure that the consistency is what I want. So as we see here, we don't have enough developer. We need it to be a little bit more smooth. So what I'm gonna do, again for video purposes, I'm gonna measure out in capfuls. This will be capful number 4. We're just gonna pour that straight into our mix. I have a plastic bag here because I'm actually out of foil at this point in time. So I'm going to use a plastic bag to allow the processing to be done. So with the fourth capful, we're mixing. I have a window open right behind me here, so that way we're not inhaling any toxic fumes during this process. As you can see, it's starting to come together. Still pretty thick. That's more thick than I would like it. We want to go for a cake batter consistency or pancake batter consistency. You don't want it too thick. You don't want it too loose. And if it's too loose, again, it'll seep through your lace and then it will actually bleach the hair. We're not wanting that. I want to keep this nice 1B color that I have until I choose to change it to something else, if I choose that. I already have a brown wig that's kind of nice, so and that is with the raw hairline that I have. So as you can see, it's not coming off. I'm gonna go in with a fifth capful. Most likely this will be my last capful that I use. Like I said, we don't want it to be too thick, but we don't want it too loose either. We want a nice smooth consistency here. And again, wear your gloves. As y'all can see, I have developer on my hand. If I didn't have gloves on, that could potentially burn, and that's not what we're wanting. So we're gonna mix and mix. And it's starting to be the consistency that I want. It's thick, but it's not too thick. So at this point in time, I'm gonna just wipe that off the bottom and use my bristles now that I have it approximately where I want it to be. So if you hear talking in the background, those are my babies. Everyone's home. It's Sunday, but also the coronavirus. Again, thank you to all of those that are on the front line dealing with the coronavirus and fighting for our health and our safety. And those that are dealing with the coronavirus or know someone dealing with it, we are keeping you all in our prayers. All right. So this is about the consistency that I'm wanting here. It's not falling off, but it's not too thick either. And there's not that much in here. We're gonna make it work. So I wanna come back and show you guys how to apply. Okay, so off camera, I went ahead and I just added some more bleach and developer because I was kind of questioning if that was actually going to be enough because this is a larger closure, so I'd rather be safe than sorry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start applying from the back to the front because the front does not have as much density as the back of the closure. If you can see kind of a slight gradient effect here. It's thinner and then it gets thicker back here. So we're going to apply it to the back first so that way it is able to process back there more quickly and then work to the front. We want it to be an even distribution. This is again my consistency. I want it to be thick, but not too thick, not too thin. And again, I'm using quick glue instead of the BW. I'm actually gonna add just a little bit more developer on camera here. And that was about a nickel size amount. Just to loosen it up a little bit more. There we go. Get that nice and mixed in here. And I'm gonna show you guys how I apply it. Once I apply the bleach and developer mix, yeah, that is better. Once I apply the developer and bleach mix, then I'll come back on screen after it's done processing, let you guys see the results. I'm going to come back in 20 minutes so that way it has time to actually process. So, got a nice chunky amount on here, and I'm just going to set that on there like this. Like I said, this is a larger closure, so I want to be very thorough. Um, you don't want to push into your closure. Like I said, you don't want to end up bleaching the hair. We're really only wanting the knots to be bleached. So I'm kind of doing a patting motion, and it's not going to be perfect, but I want to really focus on getting the general area covered. Now, I have seen some women um, and stylists who use butter knife or like a plastic spoon because it makes it easier to apply. So you're more than welcome to use what works for you. I'm okay with the brush. I try to get everything covered here. Again, if you hear noise in the background, it's just my babies. You want to avoid getting it on the actual hair because it will bleach the hair. Um, I was doing this before on a Peruvian closure for a vendor that I was testing. And when I say I made my mixture way too loose, I learned the hard way because that nice little closure went right out the window. The bleach seeped through. Not only did it bleach the knots, it bleached the hair. And I ended up throwing the whole closure away because it was not able to be fixed. I know that there are videos out there on how to actually fix how to actually fix over processed closures and frontals. And trust me, I did my research and mine was just a little bit too far gone because of the consistency of my mixture. So you really want to focus on making sure that consistency is right. Now, as you see, I didn't go all the way back. If you choose to do that, you're more than welcome to. Me, I just, like I said, want to cover the parts that will potentially show, which is going to be when I part my hair. So I'm going to bring it all the way to the brim. Like I said, normally I would put this in foil because it helps speed up the processing time, especially when you're using quick glue. Um, but since I don't have it, I'm just gonna let it sit here on the plastic bag out the way, so that way it has its time to actually process. Really trying to be careful since I'm towards the front here. So at this point, I have the general area that I want to concentrate on covered. Um, if you want, you can choose to go back in and hit some more of the spots like back here that you missed if you want. Um, it's completely up to you, personal preference. I do want to say I am not a professional. I do not do hair for um, a living. I'm not a licensed cosmetologist or anything like that. I am self-taught, so I am only giving you my opinion and what has worked for me. I I have a chunk here, so what I want to do, which I've done this before, is actually use my finger because I can feel how hard I am pushing and pressing that product in. Again, personal preference, not professional. So no one come back and say, well, I did that and oh, I overprocessed. You do what works best for you. All right. So now as you can see, we have our closure covered. At this point in time, we're going to sit. I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes, come back, check to see how well it's processed, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we are back. At this point, we are at the 20-minute mark. Come a little closer so you guys can see the knots. Just gonna pull it apart like that. As you can see, we still see a bunch of the little black dots. That's absolutely not what we want. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna leave it on for another 5 minutes, come back and check. As you can see, I've also flipped the closure over so that way we are able to monitor the progression of our knots. But all those little baby dots, we do not want that because that is not what our scalp looks like, baby girl. So we are going to let this sit for another 5 minutes, come back, see what we have, and go from there. Okay, so right now we're at the 45-minute mark. If you look, you can see those black dots have started to disappear. That means we are actually bleaching the knots. Now, it's not perfect. Like I said, quick blue takes a little minute, but to prevent over processing, what I'm going to go ahead and do is call it quits here, because for the most part, like here could go a little longer, but because this part over here is already finished, I don't want to over process. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rinse off the bleach from the closure. We're going to tone it and then we're going to condition it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so at this point, we've rinsed off all of the bleach with lukewarm water. This purple is the Shimmer Light shampoo. What this does is it tones the brassiness that's inside of the lace so that it can be more natural. You want to lather it, but you want to keep the purple there and let it set for a little bit. I think I'm going to let mine set for about 5 minutes, maybe 10. Like I said, you want to make sure that while it's leather, you want to still have the purple on there because that's what's going to tone it. So that oranginess is going to appear a darker shade of brown if done correctly. So we're going to let this sit, rinse it out, and I'll come back with the results. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. What we're going to do is rinse out the closure. I'm rinsing it out with warmer water. Actually, I'm going to rinse it out with cool water this time. Again, I wanted to keep the purple on the closure just to help with the toning. So here, we're just going to rinse. And if it doesn't look the way that I want it to, it's nothing to just go ahead and tone it again with more shampoo. This should be good enough. And as you can see, there are some brassy tones, but it's not as much as there were when we first started. So now that it's rinsed, just want to show you guys the end result. Looks like scalp. Looks like hair growing out of the scalp. And that is how I bleach the knots here at Royalty Hair Dynasty.